In this video, I'm going to show you how to replace the outer tie rod on this Nissan Pathfinder. Just so you know, after this job, you will need an alignment. Let's get started. Let's remove the wheel. Use a 21mm socket, take all 5 of your lug nuts off, and then take the wheel off. With the wheel off, let's remove the cotter pin for the outer tie rod stud. Grab it with cutters or needle nose pliers. Hopefully yours isn't too rusty. Mine is in pretty poor condition, and I'm going to try and make it break free from here. Sometimes they get seized right inside there. In this case, working it back and forth and spraying it with rust penetrant can help. Okay, so it looks like mine broke. That's all right. I'm going to try and get this end to either break or come free so that I can at least take the nut off. We'll deal with it afterwards. I'll try and chisel it, but without damaging the threads. Okay, so at least it's now cut flush. This is going to be an 18mm socket. Remove the nut. Because this is an aluminum knuckle, I don't want to hammer directly on it. So I'm going to put the nut back on flush with the end of the stud. That way I don't smash on the threads and mushroom them out. And just drive the stud of the tie rod straight out. If this doesn't work and it's really damaging things, you can use a tie rod remover tool, which is kind of like a clamp, and it pushes the stud straight up. So this is broken free, but I'm going to leave it attached for now. Following the tie rod, you can see this jam nut right here. That's what this is called. We have to break that free because that's what holds or locks the inner tie rod onto the outer. To do this, you can use a 22mm wrench and turn this clockwise from this direction. Take a rubber mallet, tap your wrench. In our case, it's pretty stuck, so sometimes it's necessary to apply some heat. Be careful of where you point the flame if you do apply heat. And try again. There we go. All right. Sometimes a little bit of heat is what you need to get this to break free. Now I'm going to spray it again with some rust penetrant. Let that soak in. Work this nut back and forth. Pull this out of the knuckle and remove the outer tie rod from the inner, counting the amount of turns it takes to take it off, and keep track of that. Took 15 turns for me, but of course for you it's going to be different. There's your outer tie rod. I'm going to add anti-seize to these threads. I'm going to bring the nut back a little and add some over here on the back side. This will make it so that when you install the inner or the outer tie rod, it will not seize on these threads, and this jam nut is also less likely to seize at this point. You can also put some grease on if you don't have anti-seize. And at this point, you can take your outer tie rod. Now get your outer tie rod and let's thread it on the same amount of turns that it took to take it off. Okay, that's it right there for me. I'm going to bring this jam nut closer. I'm not going to tighten it yet. I want to wait until the entire tie rod is into the knuckle. And speaking of that, let's put it into the knuckle. Bring it over, slide it through, and on the other side, you can start the castle nut on. This is still an 18mm socket, so snug it up. The torque for this is only 33 foot-pounds, and after I torque it, because it's a castle nut and we have to put a car pin through it, you want to make sure that the slot lines up, the slot on the castle nut lines up with the stud. If it doesn't, always continue tightening to get it to line up and not loosening. So that's it right there. Looks like I have to go just a little more. So I'm going to stick my cotter pin through, bend it over to lock it in. And there we go. Also, just a tip, if you leave a little bit of wiggle room in it, it's less likely to seize because it can move around instead of rusting because it can't move around. Now take your wrench, and of course, like I said, you will need an alignment after this, but we want to lock in this jam nut so that these two can be locked in, and you can safely drive down the road to get an alignment. So make this nice and snug. A little more. All right, and now I just like to bring this back so the outer tie rod can sit flush parallel with the knuckle. Let's get the wheel back on. Put on all 5 of your lug nuts, bottom them out, and torque them to 83 foot-pounds. "83 foot-pounds in a cross pattern. Double check it. And there you have it. Take it for a road test and don't forget to get an alignment.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.